Hey there, and welcome to the Flourish and Health podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am so glad that you are here. I am super excited today because today I am celebrating episode number 52. That's right, today is episode 52. I have done 52 weeks of podcasts. This is so exciting. And when I jumped in back in June of last year, I had no idea that what I was going to be doing was creating this podcast that would last a whole year. I jumped right in, and it was called Fear Step In, because I literally sat on the couch or like a little chair in the corner of my living room. Nobody was home, and I hit record on my phone, and that was it. I had kind of done the trailer. I had kind of got things kind of started, but that was as much as I did. And so I thought, I am just going to do it. So wow, what a journey this has been. It has been so fun to be able to step into that fear and be able to really come into what I'm wanting to create with this podcast. And this is so much more than what I thought it would be. So I wanted to just maybe go down a little bit of memory lane as we walk today. So it won't be real long of a podcast today, because I just really wanted to take that time to celebrate. And I talk about that often, where we should take time to celebrate, that we should look at the things that we have been able to do and take that moment, take those few moments, sit back for a moment and really celebrate it. Now, it doesn't mean celebrate and quit. It means celebrate, and then you can create a new goal, something else that you want to focus on. But we do need to take that time to celebrate. So today I am actually going to celebrate me and the commitment that I've had to be able to share these episodes with you every week. Hi, and welcome to the Flourish and Health podcast. My name is Stephanie Book, and I am so glad you are here. My hope is to help others see their life beyond where they currently are right now, move away from places where they feel stuck, and empower them to move into a flourishing life. Together, we will learn to recognize our true identity in Christ and apply a reframed mindset to combat the lies that we've been believing about ourselves. We will walk the journey of flourishing in our health, in mind, body, and our connection with God. I'm so excited to walk this journey with you as we create new habits of thinking and turn toward a life that is flourishing. So we've gone through quite a journey over the last year. And again, we started just me doing this video or an audio podcast, and it was just with my phone and a little microphone. I had this little tiny microphone that I used. And then I moved on to a little bit different microphone and had an arm, and it was super frustrating, and it would dip down. And this was before I did the video podcast. And so it was so funny. You'd watch this arm of this microphone, and then it would slowly dip like this while I was talking, and it would be so distracting. So it was very funny. And so then I got this microphone, and I feel like I'm clearer and being able to be heard better. So that's awesome. I've learned how to do a video podcast and be able to now not only just do this audio, but have the video available. And then I started putting the slides up when I was doing the video. So when I shared a quote or a scripture verse, I would have that up on the screen. And so, wow, those are lots of really cool things. And there are so many more things that I can do. And I'm still learning, because even a year in, there's so much to learn, but it's been so exciting. So I just wanted to sit back and celebrate a little bit, talk about where we have been, and maybe a little bit of where we're going. But I think next week we'll really kind of dive into what I would like to see going forward. So today, let's just step in for a minute, and I looked at what my top 10 episodes were of the year. So the first one was, the number one was the Fear Step In, my very first one. And that makes sense, because I was out there, I was excited. And a lot of times when people come to your website, they'll either listen to that very first, the first one up, like the newest episode, or they'll go back and look at one of those early ones to kind of check you out. So it was very raw and real. So hopefully that didn't discourage people from coming back to listen in. But that was a Fear Step In. And it really was just talking about, you know what, hey, I'm just stepping into that fear and doing something that I kept saying that I was going to do, that I finally just stepped in and did it. It didn't have to be perfect. It didn't have to be all polished. And believe me, most of these are not perfect or polished, but I was able to step in and do that regardless. And so that is still a message that I so wholeheartedly believe in still, because I know that if I had not stepped in, would I have been at 52 weeks? Absolutely not, because I would have still been waiting and waiting for the perfect time or the perfect roadmap and whatnot. So Some things that I did learn was, yes, I should have been more prepared. It would have been easier on me to be able to have episodes planned ahead of time, things that I knew that I was going to talk about right away. And I didn't do that at all at first. And so it was a little bit of nerve wracking as I would come in and decide to record, but I didn't have to worry about you seeing my face. So if I messed it up a lot, it wasn't a big deal because I would just talk in my microphone and then fix it. But it really does help. So I know that looking ahead would help me so that I would have some of those things that were in place, but it's okay because I've learned through that process. So if anybody asks me what they should do to start a podcast, well, first of all, yes, do it. Definitely do it. But also let's work together to plan ahead a little bit so that you can have maybe even a month ahead of time that you can have really recorded so that you can start going in and learning all the different ins and outs of the podcast. So that was, the top number one. The second one was making it happen. And again, I think it's probably very similar. I should have went back. I didn't have time to look back at all of the episodes and what I talked about in each of those. But again, it was, not letting those fears, not letting our excuses step in the way of what we want to create in our lives. I talked about flourish and why flourish, and I've talked about that before. I love that idea of the word flourish, the way it encourages us to just grow. Like when you see a flower or something and it's full and it's blooming all the way and it flourishes to its best look. I love that idea of blossoming into something that is overwhelming, and it's just beautiful. And so I think that we have a life that we have been given. And so we want to flourish. We want to live it to the full. And so I talked a little bit about that. And that was episode 35. Episode 19, I was talking about eating, like, are we eating enough food? Because this is Flourish and Health podcast, though most of it is this mindset piece, but some of it is about our health. And that has really been a big part of my entire journey of stepping into Flourish. I never would have been stepping into this journey of a podcast had I not taken the steps to work on my health in my body and my mind. And so we talked a little bit about healthy food and just making sure that we are getting enough food. And so hopefully as we move into this next year, we'll be able to talk a little bit more of that, because obviously if that was the number 4 podcast, then those are some things that maybe you are interested in hearing about. And then number 5 was creating a healthy and flourishing well-being. So that is the overarching, the whole well-being. So I wholeheartedly believe that I think the whole body and the wellness of our body is what's important. The full well-being, our flourishing life. So that includes our mind, our body, and even our finances, having all of that together. And that's important because we don't want to just work on one part. And I often talk about when my clients join me in my health program, I talk about we have 4 different components, and it's like 4 tires on a car, right? You can't drive very well with three wheels on a car. And I think that when all of those things are in balance, that we have those things in our lives, then we can travel through life a little bit more easily. And so I think it's so important to focus on that overall health. And then the next episode was a little bit about me. So obviously, I think I did that like episode 3 or 4. And so that was obviously talking about who I was and why I was doing such things. So I could probably tell you more about me, but you're probably learning about me as you've listened, if you've been listening to me along the way. Episode 23 was attitude of gratitude and service. And so there was a whole segment that I did in there about gratitude. And so we took each week, and I did TikToks for like 20 some days in November and tried to do all of that so that I was focusing on the idea of gratitude. And it is so important. And I've talked about that many times, how gratitude can even flip the switch on how we look at things. And so that was a really cool episode. The next one was rest is essential. And one thing is, I don't know what all these episodes are, because when I originally started putting them down, I just put the name, and then I realized I should probably number them. So I didn't ever go back and renumber them. So I don't know what number rest is essential, but you can look at the list if you want to. And I talked about rest. I wasn't talking necessarily about the sleep that we have, but really finding that time to rest, time, that pause, to being able to take that moment to breathe. Like I should be breathing right now. I'm so excited. So I just keep talking and talking and talking. There's not much room for breath. But yes, just finding that time to rest, to really allow yourself to sit and pause and breathe and not have the go, go, go that we are constantly surrounded in, and making that a priority for yourself. So that was rest is essential. The next one was bloom where you are. And I think that was really just talking about making sure that wherever you are, like that is where you are. So let's bloom in that area. There might be areas where you want to grow and places that you want to be ahead in, or goals that you are trying to reach. But we also want to remember that where we are right now, that we get to bloom right where we are. And maybe there's steps that are ahead that God is leading us to, but where we are is also a place that we get to live full and abundantly. And so that's really what that one was all about. And then episode 24 was Thanksgiving and gratitude, when life isn't always as easy to do that. And so again, that was in that gratefulness series that I was talking about. And so that whole month was really cool because it helped us really look at different ways that we can be in gratitude and ways we can express it, and really how gratitude can help us in situations where they're not so great. Some of the different ones that I really liked was, I think I talked about it last week with the one when I was talking about soundtracks, because that was a very big book for me in my personal growth and how I started to reframe my mind and how I looked at different things. And there's so many different great memories that I was able to walk through as I kind of glanced through them. And I didn't get to go back and read all of them, but again, I was super proud of where we've come. And then of course, it just goes on and on and on. So there's 52 weeks. So definitely check out some of these, and I will try to do my best to put these top ones in the show notes so that you can check those ones out. But I hope that at least some of those might have been your favorite. If you have a favorite, I would love to know which one was yours, because that would be cool to see. Because just because that's what my analytics says doesn't mean that that's what your favorite one is if you've personally listened to it. So I would love to know that. So, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm so excited about all the things that we've been able to do together and walk through this journey as I stepped into that fear and brought to you the things that were on my heart. I wanted to step into this podcast and create it for you because it was a way that I could maybe share some of the things that I've learned that maybe I had to learn kind of the hard way, that maybe I could help you step in and learn it a little bit easier, or at least have the tools or the thoughts behind how you could maybe move forward. And so I hope that that is something that I've been able to do with you on our journey. And if you're a newer listener, then, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that you are here. If you're a YouTube watcher, oh my goodness, please have grace with me as I continue to learn how to do this and how to edit and all those things. But hey, I think it's exciting to see the ways that I have been able to grow in just that short time, from the microphones. And I used to just read it right in front of my face because it wasn't in front of my face. And then, oh my goodness, I was like, oh, you should do a video. Guess what? I can't read it in front of me. So I had to figure out ways to do that. And so I learned a lot more of how I can look at the camera more and how I can have the notes in front of me. And sometimes I read them more, and that's okay, because I would rather you hear what I want to say than make it perfect. And so that is always something that is important to me, that it might not be the perfect podcast. And of course, I will continue to grow. And I know that it has changed over this last year and it will continue to get better. But I like the idea of encouraging you just to step in and do it. Don't let everything to be perfect before you step into what you want to create, whether it is something like a podcast, or maybe it's a job that you really want, or maybe it's your health journey, or maybe it's just a really big goal that you have. Don't sit on it. Take some action, even if it's a little tiny millimeter, even if it's moving it one little tiny step, it's still moving you toward that goal rather than staying in that same place. Because had I stayed in the same place and kept saying, I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to do a podcast, I want to do a podcast, and then never did it, I wouldn't be here today celebrating 52 weeks of podcasts. So I did mention a little bit about maybe where I want things to go in the future. Now, I actually have not taken too much time yet, and that's kind of my goal this week as I step into this second half of the year. And I love this time of year. We kind of again, review, like I've talked about before, where are we at with our goals so far in the year and where do we want to move forward? So that is one thing that I get to do over this week. But also, I would love to hear from you, some things that you would want to hear from me. And I did do a survey a little bit on my Flourish Facebook page. So if you didn't do that, I'll put a link in there and I'd love for you to fill that out as well so I can hear a little bit more about what it is that you would like to hear from me. But one thing that I think I would like to try to do, I don't have a schedule yet and I'm still trying to figure it all out, is but maybe have once a month maybe where I would bring another guest on. I have always done this on my own. And for the most part, I want to keep it that way because this is my gift to you or my way of helping you walk through your life. But there's a lot of people out there who know different things, different areas that I do that might be able to help you flourish in your life. And so I am still working on that. I don't know who my guests are, and I don't have a lot of famous hookups or anything. So you probably won't be hearing any really famous people on here, but they're famous to me because they are doing a podcast. They are stepping into their journeys and sharing. And so I'm connecting with lots of women and being able to see the things that they are doing. And so I'm hoping to maybe implement that maybe once a month. And then I think I would like to talk a little bit more about the health of the body. I've been talking a lot about the mindset, which is still my biggest passion, but maybe a little bit more about how we can take care of ourselves, as I am continuing on my journey. And it is a continued journey. It's not just a one and done. It's not a diet. It's a wellness journey. And so I might talk a little bit more about our body and how we can take care of it. So that's one area I was thinking about. There's different areas that I'm not sure yet. Maybe it's stepping into going outside of some things, like maybe that are not in my full on wheelhouse, but maybe things that I need to learn how to grow. I actually am going to be on a friend's podcast I met actually through a networking group. And so I don't have the details yet, so be listening. But I did my very first interview for her podcast, and she's got a brand new podcast that she is starting. And so it will air sometime this month. So once I know, I will be making sure to let you know so that you can listen to it there and then just cheer me on if you would. So I would appreciate that. And then other than that, I just want to be able to continue to encourage you. I want to help you walk with your journey with the Lord. And so I know that a lot of my podcasts, some of it is about goals and some of it is about our wellness journey. And then some of it is just our faith in God and how we are moving toward that, which I think all of that for me is all comes together as that full wellness. And so, but I definitely want to make sure I'm continuing to share content with you that is surrounded around what God wants for us as well. So that's kind of just a really brief idea of what I'm looking at. So I'm just excited because this is the end of one year. And in the podcast, these are silly little things that make me excited. And so I'm going to share them with you. But when I set the podcast and it gives me a description area. And when I put it in, I put season 1 episode and then I write it in. So this is the last time I'll write season 1, episode 52, and then I'll get to go season 2. So some people do seasons and they kind of do like sections and stuff like that. But I was like, I'm just going to do a year as a season for now. Who knows? It might change. But that's kind of fun too. Just those little things that make me excited, the ways that I can celebrate and be part of that gratitude that I have, that people even want to listen to me at all, that people think that I have something to share. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that I stepped into the scared mindset that I had, the scarcity, the afraid that what are people going to think? How are they going to, will they like me? Will I have enough to say? I was so worried that I wouldn't have enough things to talk about every week. And here I am 52 weeks later. So that's awesome. So I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for those of you that have listened. If you have not listened yet and you're new to this episode, it's a little bit different than normal, but I'm so glad that you are here. But I say this all of the time, but I do appreciate anyone that shares this podcast because for me to continue to do this, I want to make sure that there are ears that are listening, that people that are being able to take what I am teaching or what I'm sharing and making it be an impact for them, helping them in some way. And the only way that I can do that is if you help me by sharing it with those that you care about. If you hear an episode that you really like, send it to them. Who knows? Maybe they would enjoy it, or maybe if they don't like it, they could send it to somebody else. If you would be so inclined to do a review, I talk about this often and I share it at the end. If you even listen to the trailer at the end, but it really does make a difference because it helps my podcast be seen. And it's not because I want the praise or I want the recognition, but it's more of I just want other people to be able to hear what I'm sharing. If you find it valuable, it does help when you make those reviews, when you give it a rating, it really does help me to be able to help others. And so I really encourage you, if you haven't, if you would please write a review or, put that, share it with somebody else. And maybe if I have enough coming in, I could start reading one because I really am thankful for the reviews that I have received. And so I would love to read them out and share them with you. So lots more things that are coming. I have some exciting things. I know my course is still being kind of finalized, so I still have that coming. I have more ideas coming your way. And so I just wanted to sit again. I want to say thank you for walking this journey with me for this last year. And I hope that you will continue to walk with me as we continue to go towards that full and flourishing life, because I really do want you to understand how valuable you are, how important you are. And I know sometimes we can't see it, believe me. I have been there, and I have hesitations all the time when I'm wanting to share something with you and thinking, well, who am I to say that? But you know what? God has equipped me to be able to do the things that He's put in my heart to do, and He's equipped you as well. You have that capability. You have the possibility to step into things that might be scary and just do it because it's worth it in the end. Who knows what that one step, that one little millimeter may bring to you, that one fear step in episode to now this one, 52 weeks later. Thank you so much, friends, for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this quick little overview, and I so appreciate you. Take care. Thank you so much for joining me as we walk towards this life of flourishing. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and would love, love, love for you to take a moment to subscribe to my podcast and maybe even leave a review. Likes and reviews like yours will allow my podcast to be seen by others and hopefully help them as they walk through their own journey of growth. So until next time, please remember that you are amazing, my friend, and you are meant to live a life full and flourishing. Take care.